Close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing on the edge of an ancient world. The wind whispers through mountain passes where eagles soar, carrying stories from a time when empires rose and fell like the changing seasons. In this place where earth meets sky, where humans dared to dream the impossible, there begins a story unlike any other, the story of the longest wall ever built by human hands. The Great Wall of China stretches across the landscape like a sleeping dragon, spanning over 13,000 miles of mountains, deserts, and plains. It is a monument not just to architecture, but to the countless souls who poured their lives into its creation. This is their story told gently, so that as you listen, you might drift into peaceful dreams where ancient stones hold memories of hope, sacrifice, and endurance. Long before the wall became the unified structure we know today, China was a tapestry of warring states, each protecting its own borders. During the spring and autumn period from 770 to 476 BCE, and the subsequent warring states period from 475 to 221 BCE, different kingdoms built their own defensive walls. These early walls were like tentative fingers reaching across the land, each one a promise of protection, each one a boundary between safety and uncertainty. The states of Qi, Yan, Zhao, and others all constructed their own fortifications, using what the earth gave them. In those early days, walls were built from rammed earth, layer upon layer of compacted soil, mixed sometimes with gravel and wood. These weren't the stone giants we picture today, but they were sturdy enough, standing watch through seasons of rain and sun, bearing witness to the passage of time. And then came a man who would change everything. In 221 BCE, Qin Shi Huang became the first emperor to unite China, bringing together the fractured states under one rule. He looked at those separate walls scattered across his newly unified land and saw something greater, a vision of protection that would span his entire northern border. The emperor was both feared and admired. He dreamed not just of uniting walls, but of creating something that would outlast empires, something that would speak to future generations of China's strength and unity. Around 220 BCE, he masterminded the process of uniting the existing walls into one, and thus began the monumental task that would consume millions of lives and stretch across centuries. To understand the scale of this undertaking, imagine if you were asked to build a structure that would cross multiple mountain ranges, traverse scorching deserts, and wind through lush river valleys, all without modern machinery, without trucks or cranes, without even the simple wheel in many places. This was the task that fell to the people of China. By 212 BCE, walls ran from Gansu to the coast of southern Manchuria, a distance that seems almost impossible to comprehend. But this was just the beginning. The wall would continue to grow, to change, to transform over the next 2,000 years, becoming not just a defensive structure, but a living monument to human determination. Let us speak now of those who built the wall, not the emperors or the generals whose names fill history books, but the ordinary people whose sweat and tears became mortar, whose strength became stone. The labor force was made up of three groups: soldiers, common people, and criminals. Each group carried their own burdens, their own stories, their own reasons for being there under the vast Chinese sky. The soldiers came first. During the Qin dynasty, General Meng Tian led some 300,000 soldiers to construct the Great Wall, taking over 9 years to complete. These were men trained for war, But now they became builders. They had discipline, organization, and the strength that comes from military training. In the morning mist, they would rise before dawn, their breath visible in the cold air, and begin another day of lifting, carrying, and placing stones that would outlive them by thousands of years. But soldiers alone were not enough. The emperors needed more hands, more backs, more souls willing or forced to give their labor to this impossible dream. So, they turned to the common people. Farmers were pulled from their fields, craftsmen from their workshops, fathers from their families. When Qin Shi Huang built the Great Wall, he not only used 300,000 troops, but also summoned more than 500,000 civilian workers from all over the country. Picture a young man, perhaps 20 years old, saying goodbye to his wife and infant child. He walks away from his village, joining a stream of other men heading north toward the mountains where the wall awaits. He doesn't know if he'll return. Many didn't. Families were torn apart, and children died hundreds of miles away from their loved ones. And then there were the criminals, men who had broken laws, some serious, some trivial by today's standards. During the day, they were ordered to take turns patrolling the wall, while at night, building and extending it, required to serve 4 years of hard labor. For them, the wall was both punishment and penance, a debt paid in sweat and suffering. What was it like to be one of those millions who built the wall? Let us journey back through time and spend a day with them. The day begins before sunrise. In the worker camps scattered along the construction sites, men stir from their sleep in crude shelters, simple structures of straw and mud that offered little protection from the elements. These camps offered little protection from the elements, and workers were constantly exposed to rain, snow, and biting winds. As the first light touches the mountains, the work begins. Laborers worked from dawn until dusk, with only brief breaks for meals. The tasks were varied but uniformly exhausting. Some men would quarry stone from the mountainsides, their chisels ringing against rock in a rhythm that became the heartbeat of the wall. Others would carry these massive blocks up steep mountain paths, their shoulders bearing weights that would break lesser men. Workers carried most of the stones and bricks up the mountains on their shoulders or backs. Bamboo baskets were used for soil, loose stone, and lime mortar. Imagine the scene: a human chain stretching up a mountainside, each person passing a basket or a stone to the next, creating a living conveyor belt of human effort. On narrow mountain paths, this method was more efficient than trudging back and forth alone. The work was dangerous. A misplaced foot on a steep cliff could mean a fatal fall. Stones could slip from tired hands. Workers toiled in extreme weather conditions, from the sweltering heat of summer to freezing winters. In summer, the sun beat down mercilessly on backs bent over stone and mortar. In winter, fingers grew numb, making it hard to grasp the tools that were their constant companions. For food, the workers received simple fare. Alcohol, such as millet wine, was sometimes provided as a form of encouragement or reward, though it brought its own dangers. The diet was monotonous, mostly millet and rice when it was available, with little variety to sustain bodies pushed to their absolute limits. Yet, even in this hardship, there was life. In the evenings, after the sun had set and the tools were finally put down, men would gather around fires. They would tell stories of home, of wives and children they might never see again. They would sing songs that had been passed down through generations, their voices carrying across the mountains like prayers to uncaring heavens. Some would tend to injuries. Cuts and bruises were common, and more serious injuries could be fatal in an age before proper medical care. The absence of adequate medical care meant even minor injuries could become fatal. Yet still, they persevered, because what choice did they have? To refuse was to face execution. To flee was nearly impossible, with guards watching and the harsh landscape itself a prison. Not all stories from the Great Wall are stories of survival. Many are stories of loss, of sacrifice, of lives cut short in service of an emperor's dream. During Qin Shi Huang's reign, approximately 30,000 people perished, a mortality rate of about 10, but numbers, even staggering ones, can't capture the human reality. Each death was a father who would never return home, a son whose mother would weep, a husband whose wife would wait in vain. Bodies of the deceased were often buried within the wall itself, giving rise to the grim saying that the wall is the longest cemetery in the world. The wall in this way became a tomb as well as a fortification. The stones held within them not just earth and mortar, but the remains of those who gave everything to create it. Disease spread quickly through the crowded, unsanitary camps. Outbreaks of dysentery, cholera, and typhoid claimed many lives. Exhaustion took others. Men worked until their bodies simply gave out, collapsing where they stood. Accidents claimed still more. Falls from scaffolding, crushed under falling stones, buried in cave-ins. The punishment for trying to escape or refusing to work was severe. Workers who disobeyed orders or tried to flee were often executed publicly to serve as a warning to others. This created an atmosphere of fear and despair, where hope seemed as distant as the horizon. But perhaps most heartbreaking was the impact on families back home. For a long time, families were frightened to have boys because there was a high likelihood that they would be taken away and conscripted into wall labor. Imagine a society where the birth of a son, traditionally a blessing, became something to fear, where mothers prayed for daughters because sons might be torn from them to die building a wall they would never see. Women were frightened to have a boy, and widowers dared not to marry a woman. For those who lost sons or husbands, life would become much harder. In ancient China, women had few opportunities to support themselves. A widow with no son to care for her faced a life of desperate poverty. Among all the stories of the Great Wall, one has endured through the centuries, passed from generation to generation like a precious heirloom of sorrow. It is the legend of Meng Jiangnu, and it tells us something profound about how the Chinese people came to understand the wall, not as a symbol of strength, but as a monument to suffering. The legend says that Meng Jiangnu was a young bride, newly married to a kind and gentle man. But their happiness was short-lived, for her husband was conscripted to work on the Great Wall. As autumn turned to winter, Meng Jiangnu worried about her beloved facing the harsh cold with inadequate clothing. She sewed warm garments and set out on a long, perilous journey to find him and deliver these clothes with her love. When she finally reached the Great Wall, after traveling for months, she learned the devastating truth. Her husband had died from exhaustion and been buried within the wall itself. The legend of Meng Jiangnu tells the story of a woman whose tears caused a section of the wall to collapse, revealing the body of her husband who died during construction. Her grief was so profound, her crying so bitter, that the heavens themselves took pity. The wall, moved by her sorrow, crumbled and collapsed for a length of 400 kilometers, revealing the bones of her husband among countless others. She could finally give him a proper burial, but her heart was broken beyond repair. Whether this story is historical truth or legend matters less than what it represents. In this tale, we see how the Chinese people processed the immense human cost of the wall. Meng Jiangnu's tears became the tears of every wife, every mother, every daughter who lost someone to the wall. Her story gave voice to a grief too vast to be contained by individual experience. Today, temples dedicated to Meng Jiangnu still stand near the Great Wall, places where people come to remember not the emperor's glory, but the ordinary people's sacrifice. In her story, the wall doesn't speak of triumph. It weeps. Yet, even amidst hardship and sorrow, human ingenuity found ways to flourish. The building of the Great Wall, for all its terrible cost, was also a showcase of evolving construction techniques that would influence Chinese architecture for centuries to come. In the earliest days, walls were built of rammed earth, constructed using forced labor. This ancient technique, used in China for thousands of years, involved packing layers of earth into wooden frames, tamping each layer down until it became almost as hard as stone. When the frames were removed, walls remained, not as impressive as stone perhaps, but remarkably durable. As dynasties rose and fell, construction methods evolved. Transporting the large quantity of materials required for construction was difficult, so builders always tried to use local resources. Stone was used in montane areas, while rammed earth was used while building in the plains. This practical approach meant the wall changed character as it crossed different terrains, becoming a chameleon that adapted to its environment. In the mountains, workers quarried granite and limestone. In mountain areas, workers quarried stone to build the Great Wall. Using the mountains themselves as footings, the outer layer of the Great Wall was built with stone blocks and bricks, and filled with uncut stone and anything else available. The wall became part of the landscape itself, growing from the mountains as if it had always belonged there. The Ming Dynasty, which ruled from 1368 to 1644, brought the greatest innovations to wall construction. The Ming construction was stronger and more elaborate, due to the use of bricks and stone instead of rammed earth. These are the sections most tourists see today. The magnificent stone serpent that winds through the mountains near Beijing. But how did they make those bricks stick together so firmly that they still stand today, hundreds of years later? The answer lies in an ingenious mortar. Workers use sticky rice mortar, a mixture of rice flour and slaked lime, which proved to be incredibly strong and weather-resistant. This organic binding agent created a bond so powerful that in some places, the mortar is harder than the bricks themselves. The Ming Dynasty also added architectural features that made the wall more than just a barrier. Up to 25,000 watchtowers are estimated to have been constructed on the wall. These towers served multiple purposes. They were lookout posts where soldiers could spot approaching enemies, signal stations where messages could be sent via smoke or fire, and housing for the troops who manned this vast defensive system. Transportation of materials was perhaps the greatest challenge. 100 million tons of bricks, stone, and soil were transported and assembled by millions of soldiers, peasants, prisoners, and animals using basic rope, wood, and basket systems. In some places, workers developed pulley systems to haul materials up cliffs. In others, they built ramps that wound up mountainsides. One legend even speaks of using goats to carry bricks up steep slopes. Though this may be more folklore than fact, the Great Wall was never truly finished because it was never built by just one dynasty with one purpose. Each dynasty that came to power inherited this monumental project and decided what to do with it based on their own needs and circumstances. After the Qin dynasty fell, the Han dynasty, ruling from 202 BCE to 220 CE, took up the work again. The Han extended the fortifications furthest to the west, pushing the wall deeper into the desert regions to protect the Silk Road, that legendary trade route that connected China to the Mediterranean world. Along these western extensions, watchtowers rose from the desert sands, lonely sentinels in an ocean of dunes. The Northern Qi dynasty, though shorter-lived, made significant contributions. The Qi built about 1,600 kilometers of new walls, adding their own sections to the growing network of fortifications. Each dynasty left its signature in stone, its own answer to the question of how to protect the empire. But not every dynasty valued the wall equally. The Tang and Song dynasties, though powerful in their own right, did not undertake any significant effort in the region. During these periods, the wall fell into disrepair, its stones scattered by wind and weather, its purpose fading from immediate concern. It was the Ming dynasty that would give the wall its final, most magnificent form. After suffering defeat at the hands of the Mongols, the Ming emperors understood the need for strong border defenses. Construction continued up to the Ming dynasty from 1368 to 1644, when the Great Wall became the world's largest military structure. The Ming sections weren't just repairs. They were reimagining of what the wall could be. The Ming emperors improved the wall with watchtowers and platforms. Most of the familiar images of the wall show Ming-era construction in stone. These are the sections that visitors climb today, the dramatic stone pathways that follow mountain ridges like a road to the sky. Why build such a wall? The answer seems obvious at first: defense against invaders, primarily the nomadic tribes from the north. The Great Wall of China was built to fortify China's northern border, but as with most grand historical undertakings, the reality was more complex. Yes, the wall was meant to keep enemies out. The Xiongnu during the Qin dynasty, the Khitans during the Song, the Mongols during the Ming, all posed threats that the wall was meant to counter. The watchtowers allowed guards to spot approaching armies from great distances. Signal fires could spread warnings faster than any rider could travel, alerting distant garrisons to prepare for battle. But the wall served other purposes too. It controlled trade, with passes serving as checkpoints where goods could be taxed and monitored. The wall helped regulate the movement of people, ensuring that those who wished to cross the border did so at designated points where they could be observed and recorded. Perhaps most importantly, the wall was a symbol, a statement made in stone. It declared to the world that China was unified, strong, and permanent. It marked the boundary between civilization and wilderness, between the ordered world of the empire and the chaotic lands beyond. It provides significant physical evidence of the far-sighted political, strategic thinking, and mighty military and national defense forces of central empires in ancient China. Every brick was a declaration of imperial power, every tower a reminder of the emperor's reach. Yet, we must also acknowledge that as a purely military structure, the wall had mixed success. Enemies found ways through, sometimes through passes left unguarded due to corruption or incompetence, sometimes by simply going around. The wall couldn't prevent the Mongol conquest, and it didn't stop the Manchu forces who would establish the Qing dynasty in 1644. But perhaps judging the wall solely on its military effectiveness misses the point. It succeeded in other ways, as a unifying project that brought the empire together, as a symbol that inspired both fear and respect, as a monument that would outlast all the emperors who built it. There came a time when the sound of construction finally ceased, when the last stone was laid and the last worker went home, or didn't go home, joining the thousands whose bones lay within the wall's embrace. A breach in the Great Wall at Shanhai Pass in 1644 by Manchu forces signaled the end of Han control in China for the last and final Chinese dynasty, the Qing dynasty, from 1644 to 1911. It also signaled the end of construction and maintenance of the Great Wall. The new rulers, coming from Manchuria beyond the wall, had no interest in maintaining a structure meant to keep people like them out. For over 2 centuries, the Great Wall stood largely forgotten, gradually deteriorating. Wind wore at the stones, rain washed away mortar, plants took root in cracks, their roots slowly prying apart what humans had so laboriously put together. Local people sometimes took stones from the wall to build their own homes. After all, it was convenient building material, and the emperors who had commanded its construction were long gone. The wall might have crumbled entirely into ruin, becoming nothing more than a few scattered remnants and a fading memory. But then came the 20th century, and with it, a new understanding of what the wall represented. In 1957, something remarkable happened. The government of the People's Republic of China opened the battling section to the public as a tourist attraction. This marked the beginning of the wall's transformation from abandoned ruin to national treasure. The renovated battling became the first section to be opened to the public since the establishment of the PRC, beginning with Nepali Prime Minister Bishweshwar Prasad Koirala in 1960. Restoration work began in earnest. Skilled workers, using many of the same techniques as their ancestors, began rebuilding collapsed sections, replacing missing stones, strengthening foundations. It was delicate work. They needed to preserve the wall's authenticity while making it safe for visitors. In many ways, this was its own kind of monument to the original builders, a recognition that what they had created deserved to endure. Today, the Great Wall of China stands as one of the most visited monuments in the world. Millions of people from every corner of the globe make the pilgrimage to walk along its ancient stones, to climb its steep steps, to gaze out from its watchtowers at the same views that soldiers saw centuries ago. But the wall that tourists see is only a fraction of the whole. The total length of all sections of the Great Wall of China ever built adds up to about 21,196 kilometers, 13,171 miles, including overlapping sections that were rebuilt. Much of this vast network lies in ruins or has disappeared entirely, reclaimed by nature or lost to time. Nearly 1/3 of the Great Wall has disappeared without a trace. These vanished sections exist now only in historical records and in the earth itself, where sometimes archaeologists uncover traces of foundations or find artifacts that speak of the wall's former presence. The sections that do survive vary tremendously. The restored areas near Beijing are magnificent. Stone steps that seem to climb forever, watchtowers with sweeping views, walls so wide that several people can walk abreast. But venture into more remote regions, and you'll find wild sections where the wall is crumbling, where vegetation has taken over, where you can still feel the raw power of the original construction, unmediated by modern restoration. UNESCO recognized the wall's universal significance by designating it a World Heritage Site. The Great Wall integrally preserves all the material and spiritual elements and historical and cultural information that carry its outstanding universal value. This designation brings both honor and responsibility, a recognition that the wall belongs not just to China, but to all of humanity, as a testament to what we can achieve, for better or worse, when we set our collective will to a task. Modern technology has allowed us to study the wall in ways previous generations couldn't imagine. Satellite imagery, GPS surveys, and archaeological techniques have mapped every surviving section. Researchers can now trace the wall's full extent, measuring its length with unprecedented accuracy and discovering sections that had been lost to knowledge for centuries. Yet, even as we study and preserve the wall, new threats emerge. Climate change brings more extreme weather that erodes the ancient stones. Tourism, while generating funds for preservation, also brings the risk of damage from millions of feet and hands. A section of the wall in Shaanxi province was severely damaged in 2023 by construction workers who widened an existing gap in the wall to make a shortcut for an excavator to pass through. Such incidents remind us that the wall's preservation remains an ongoing challenge. Over the centuries, the Great Wall has accumulated layers of myth and legend that sometimes obscure the historical reality. Perhaps the most famous claim is also one of the most false. The Great Wall of China cannot be seen by the naked human eye from the moon. This myth has been thoroughly debunked. From the moon, the wall would appear no wider than a human hair viewed from 2 miles away. Yet the myth persists, perhaps because we want to believe that human achievement can reach so far, can be so grand, that it transcends the planet itself. There's something appealing about the idea that our greatest constructions are visible even from space, as if we're leaving a mark that the cosmos itself can observe. Other legends have more historical roots. Ghost stories abound along the wall's length. Some sections of the wall are rumored to be haunted with tales of ghostly apparitions of workers who died during construction. On foggy mornings or in the twilight hours, visitors sometimes report strange sounds, footsteps on stone where no one walks, voices speaking ancient dialects, the clang of tools against rock echoing from empty air. Whether these stories are true or simply the human tendency to find meaning in shadows and wind, they speak to something real. The wall is indeed haunted, not by literal ghosts perhaps, but by memory. Every stone was placed by hands that felt pain and hope, fear and determination. Every section was built by people with names and families and dreams that died with them. In that sense, the wall is one great monument to all those vanished lives. There are practical legends too. The story about sticky rice being used in mortar once seemed like folklore, but proved to be fact. The tales of workers buried in the wall were long dismissed as exaggeration until archaeological evidence confirmed that yes, bodies were indeed interred within the structure, though probably not as systematically as legend suggested. What does the Great Wall tell us about ourselves, about humanity, about what we're capable of achieving and what we're willing to sacrifice to achieve it? On one hand, the wall stands as an undeniable testament to human determination and ingenuity. The Great Wall deserves its place among the new 7 wonders of the world. The sheer scale of the project, sustained across millennia, represents an organizational and engineering feat that remains impressive even by modern standards. The builders had to solve countless problems: how to transport massive stones up impossible slopes, how to make mortar that would last centuries, how to coordinate the efforts of millions of workers across vast distances. But the wall also represents something darker about human civilization. It was built through forced labor, through the expenditure of lives counted only as numbers in ledgers if they were counted at all. It represents the power of emperors to command not just armies, but entire populations, to requisition lives as casually as one might requisition grain or iron. The Great Wall is the building project with the longest duration and greatest cost in human lives. Blood, sweat, and tears. This achievement, if we can call it that, came at a price that we must never forget. Every magnificent section we admire today was built by people who had no choice, who were torn from their families, who died far from home without even the comfort of familiar voices. The wall also reminds us of the limits of power. Despite its scale, despite the suffering that went into its creation, the wall ultimately failed at its primary purpose. Invaders still breached it. Empires still fell. The wall couldn't prevent change or hold back the tide of history. It stands now not as an active defense, but as a memorial to the futility of trying to wall out the world. Yet, perhaps that failure contains its own wisdom. The wall endures not because it successfully divided the world into us and them, but because it unites us in shared wonder at what humans built. Today, people from nations that didn't exist when the wall was built, speaking languages that hadn't been invented, come to walk along its path. The wall has become a bridge rather than a barrier, connecting us to our shared past. In Chinese tradition, the dragon is a symbol of power, wisdom, and good fortune. From the air, the Great Wall does indeed resemble a dragon, a stone serpent winding through the mountains, its body following the natural contours of the land, its watchtowers like scales glinting in the sun. This dragon has slept for centuries, no longer guarding against invaders, no longer serving its original purpose. But it hasn't died. Instead, it has transformed, taking on new meaning with each generation that encounters it. For modern China, the wall is a symbol of national identity and historical continuity. It connects the present to an ancient past, providing a sense of roots that extend deep into history. When Chinese leaders speak of the Great Wall, they often invoke it as a metaphor for the Chinese spirit, persistent, enduring, capable of overcoming any obstacle. For visitors from around the world, the wall offers something different. It's a chance to touch history, to walk literally in the footsteps of those who came before. Standing on the wall, looking out over mountain ranges that have witnessed thousands of years of human drama, people often report feeling a sense of perspective. a realization of how brief our individual lives are in the grand sweep of time, but also a sense of connection to something larger than ourselves. Artists, poets, and writers have been inspired by the wall for centuries. During the Ming Dynasty, poems were carved into stones along the wall's length, verses that spoke of duty, longing, and the harsh beauty of the frontier. Modern artists continue to be drawn to it, creating works that explore themes of boundaries, belonging, and the relationship between humanity and landscape. The wall has also become a metaphor in political discourse, often invoked when discussing borders, immigration, and national sovereignty. These modern debates echo ancient questions. What is the purpose of a wall? Who does it protect, and who does it keep out? Is security worth the cost of separation? As we near the end of our journey along the Great Wall, it's worth reflecting on what lessons this ancient monument might teach us today. First, it reminds us of the power of human cooperation. No individual could have built the Great Wall. It required the coordinated effort of millions working toward a common goal. When we work together, when we pool our labor and ingenuity, we can accomplish things that seem impossible. This is true whether we're building walls or launching spacecraft, writing constitutions, or curing diseases. But the wall also cautions us about the cost of grand projects. It warns us to consider not just whether we can do something, but whether we should, and at what price. The wall was built, yes, but at a cost in human suffering that can never be fully calculated. Modern mega projects should remember the workers who died building monuments to power and should strive to accomplish great things without such terrible sacrifice. The wall teaches us about impermanence. Despite being built to last forever, much of it has crumbled and disappeared. The empires that commanded its construction have fallen into dust. The invaders it was meant to keep out are now just names in history books. Nothing human-made truly lasts forever, no matter how solid it seems. This isn't a cause for despair, but for perspective. Our works will pass, but that doesn't make them meaningless. They matter in their moment and in the way they're remembered. The wall also speaks to us about the relationship between humanity and landscape. Rather than trying to impose a rigid, straight structure on the land, the builders let the wall follow natural contours, working with the terrain rather than against it. This created something more beautiful and more functional than a straight line ever could have been. There's a lesson here about adaptation, about flexibility, about respecting the world we inhabit, rather than trying to force it into submission. Finally, the wall teaches us that meaning can change. What was built as a barrier has become a bridge. What was created through suffering has become a source of inspiration. What was meant to divide has become something that unites people from around the world in shared appreciation. Our creations outlive our intentions, taking on lives of their own as future generations discover new meanings in them. And so we come to the end of our story, though the Great Wall itself continues, winding through mountains and deserts, through history and memory, through the past and into the future. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, picture the wall in the soft light of evening. The harsh sun has set, and in the gentle twilight, the stones glow with a warm amber light. Shadows gather in the valleys while the highest watchtowers still catch the last rays of day. A breeze whispers through the gaps in the stones, carrying with it the faint echoes of voices long stilled. Imagine you're standing on the wall as night falls. The air is cooling, and the first stars are beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Below you, the landscape stretches endlessly, mountains rolling into the distance like frozen waves, valleys filled with gathering darkness, and somewhere far away, the lights of villages where people are settling in for the night, just as you are. The stones beneath your feet are still warm from the day's sun, holding heat the way they've held history. You run your hand along the rough surface and feel the tool marks left by workers centuries ago. Each mark is a signature, an anonymous worker's sign that they were here, that they existed, that they mattered. As darkness deepens, you don't feel afraid or alone on this ancient structure. Instead, there's a sense of peace, of being connected to something vast and enduring. The wall has witnessed countless sunsets, countless generations living and dying, and it remains patient, persistent, eternal in its own way. Think of all those workers we've journeyed with throughout this story. The soldiers who became builders, the farmers torn from their fields, the families separated by duty and distance. Their suffering was real and should never be forgotten. But so too was their strength, their resilience, their quiet heroism in facing each day. Despite overwhelming hardship, they built this wall not just with their hands, but with their will. They poured into it not just labor, but something more, a piece of themselves that remains long after their names have been forgotten. When you touch the wall, you're touching their legacy. When you walk along its path, you're walking alongside ghosts who smile to see that their work has meaning still. The legend of Meng Jiangnu reminds us that every stone has a story, that behind grand historical narratives are intimate human tragedies. But there must have been moments of joy too, surely. The workers must have laughed sometimes, despite everything. They must have found small beauties in their harsh world. A sunset over the mountains, a cool breeze on a hot day, the satisfaction of placing a stone perfectly, the camaraderie of shared burden. Tonight, let the Great Wall be a lullaby in stone. Let its ancient presence soothe you, reminding you that you too are part of a larger story, that your struggles and triumphs, though they may seem small, are threads in the great tapestry of human experience. The wall dreams, if stone can dream. It dreams of the hands that shaped it, of the voices that once filled its empty corridors with song and curse, prayer and weeping. It dreams of the generals who stood atop its towers, scanning horizons for enemies that never came, or that came too late. It dreams of merchants traveling through its gates, camels laden with silk and spices, bringing news from distant lands. In winter, snow blankets the wall, softening its harsh angles, making it look gentle and forgiving. On those quiet nights when frost glitters like diamonds on every surface, the wall seems to sleep deeply, resting from centuries of service. The watchtowers become miniature palaces of ice and stone, fairy tale structures that seem too beautiful to have been made for war. In spring, wildflowers bloom in the cracks and crevices where seeds have found purchase. Life always finds a way, and the wall has become not a barrier to nature, but a trellis for it. Vines climb its face, birds nest in its towers, and small animals make homes in spaces that once housed soldiers. The wall has been domesticated by time and nature, transformed from a weapon into a habitat. Summer brings tourists in their thousands, filling the wall with new voices, new languages, new purposes. A child races up the steps, delighted by the adventure. A elderly couple pauses to rest, hand in hand, sharing this moment together. A young woman takes a photograph, capturing an instant that she'll carry with her always. The wall witnesses all of these moments with the same patient attention it gave to ancient soldiers and long-dead emperors. Autumn may be the most beautiful season on the wall. The leaves turn gold and red, and the mountains become a symphony of warm colors. The air grows crisp and clear, and visibility stretches for miles. On these perfect autumn days, you can almost understand why someone thought a wall could work, why it seemed possible to draw a line and say, "Here is us, there is them, and never shall they meet." But of course, they did meet. They always met. The wall couldn't hold back trade or ideas or love. Families formed across its boundaries. Merchants crossed it every day. Cultural exchange flowed both ways, enriching both sides of the artificial divide. This too is part of what the wall teaches us, that walls ultimately fail at their essential purpose because humans are fundamentally social creatures. We're drawn to each other, curious about each other, eager to trade and talk and share. Walls can slow this down, make it more difficult, but they can't stop it. The impulse to connect is stronger than the impulse to separate. In your mind's eye, visit one of the watchtowers, climb the worn steps, placing your feet where soldiers placed theirs countless times, wearing grooves into solid stone. Enter the small chamber at the top and look out through the windows that once served as lookout posts. The soldier who stood here is long gone, dust for centuries. But his duty remains, transformed. He watched for invaders. You watch for beauty. He stood guard against enemies. You stand in appreciation. He served an empire. You serve your own sense of wonder and curiosity. What did he think about during his long watches? Did he miss his family? Of course he did. Did he wonder about the people on the other side of the wall, whether they were really so different from him? Perhaps. Did he sometimes question the purpose of it all, standing alone in the cold, guarding against threats that might never come? Almost certainly. But he did his duty day after day, because that's what humans do. We persist, we endure, we find meaning in tasks that might seem meaningless. We create purpose where none exists. The soldier found honor in his service, found identity in being a guardian, found comfort in routine and in the company of other soldiers who shared his burden. Now, you are the watcher, standing where he stood, looking out at a world that has changed beyond his imagining. Cities he never knew sprawl below. Technologies he couldn't conceive of fill the air with invisible communications. The empire he served is dust, and new nations have risen in its place. But the mountains remain. The sky is still the same sky he watched. The wind still whispers through the stones. The wall still stands. In these continuities, past and present meet and mingle. You and that long-dead soldier are not so far apart as centuries might suggest. You're both human, both standing on the same stones, both looking out at the same essential world, both trying to make sense of existence. Night has fully fallen now, and a moon rises over the wall, perhaps a full moon, round and bright, casting silvery light across the landscape. In this light, the wall looks almost magical, as if it's made not of stone, but of solidified moonlight, a creation of dreams rather than sweat and blood. This is a good time to remember the beauty that was created, even unintentionally. The builders weren't trying to make art. They were trying to make a fortification. But what they created has an aesthetic power that transcends its original purpose. The way the wall follows the mountain ridges is poetry in stone. The rhythm of the watchtowers spaced along its length like notes in a song creates a visual music. Sometimes the most beautiful things are created not by artists deliberately seeking beauty, but by workers simply trying to solve practical problems as well as they can. The builders made the wall strong, and in doing so, made it beautiful. They made it functional, and in doing so, made it sublime. Under the moon, walking the wall in your imagination, you feel a sense of profound peace. The struggles of the day, whatever they might be, seem smaller when placed against this ancient backdrop. Your worries, valid though they are, feel manageable when you consider what humans have endured and overcome. The wall reminds you that humanity has always faced challenges, has always struggled, has always suffered, and has always persevered. We build, we create, we endure. Sometimes what we build lasts, and sometimes it crumbles. Sometimes our purposes are achieved, and sometimes they're thwarted. But the effort itself has meaning. The attempt itself matters. Tonight, let the moonlight on the Great Wall be a blessing for you. Let it wash away the tensions you carry. Let it soothe the anxieties that trouble your mind. Let it remind you that you too are part of this long story of human persistence and creativity. In a place called Shanhai Pass, the Great Wall meets the sea, or at least it once did. The Old Dragon's Head, as it's called, is where the wall literally reaches out into the water, as if the dragon of legend were taking one last drink before disappearing into the depths. This is a powerful image, this meeting of land and sea, of human construction and natural force. The waves lap against the wall's foundation, just as they've lapped against this shore for millions of years before the wall existed, and will continue to lap for millions of years after it has crumbled entirely away. Here, the wall's ambition and its ultimate futility are both on full display. The builders extended it as far as they could, reaching out into the very ocean as if to say, "We will defend everything, even the edge of the world." But the sea doesn't care about walls or empires. It goes where it wishes, unstoppable and eternal. Yet there's something beautiful in the ambition itself, something touching about the sheer audacity of building a wall into the sea. It speaks to the human refusal to accept limitations, our constant pushing against boundaries, our insistence on trying even when success seems impossible. This is where the wall ends or begins, depending on your perspective. From here, it stretches westward across an entire continent, through every kind of terrain, over every kind of obstacle, until it finally fades away in the desert sands thousands of miles distant. Think of that distance. Think of the countless steps it would take to walk the wall's full length, the months or years such a journey would require. Think of all the stones, all the watchtowers, all the lives embedded in those stones. The scale overwhelms comprehension. The human mind can't quite grasp it fully. We can understand the individual parts, a stone, a tower, a section of wall. But the totality escapes us. Perhaps that's fitting. Perhaps some human achievements are meant to exceed our ability to fully comprehend them. Perhaps part of their power lies in this very incomprehensibility, this sense that we've created something bigger than ourselves, something that approaches the sublime. As our story draws to a close, take one last walk along the wall in your imagination. The night is deep now, quiet and peaceful. The moon has traced its path across the sky. Stars wheel overhead in their eternal dance. Down in the valleys, lights are dimming as people settle into sleep. You walk slowly, in no hurry, your hand trailing along the wall's rough surface. Each step is meditation, each breath a prayer for all those who came before. The wall has become a rosary, a chain of memories, a physical manifestation of the passage of time. With each step, you shed more of the day's burdens. With each breath, you find more peace. The wall holds you, supports you, surrounds you with its ancient presence. It has endured so much: wars and peace, construction and decay, meaning and meaninglessness. And it endures still. If it can persist through centuries, surely you can persist through a single night's worries. You think of everyone who has ever walked this wall, the soldiers on patrol, the workers during construction, the emperors making inspections, the modern tourists seeking adventure or enlightenment, or simply a good photograph. You're part of this procession, this endless line of humans drawn to this place, seeking something, safety or glory or meaning or peace. And you find it, don't you? Here on the wall, in the deep night, you find a measure of peace. Not because all problems are solved or all questions answered, but because you've connected to something larger than yourself, something that puts your individual struggles into perspective while simultaneously validating them. If those ancient workers could face their trials with courage, surely you can face yours. The wall teaches its final lesson. Impermanence and permanence exist side by side. Everything changes, everything passes, and yet something remains. The workers are gone, but the wall stands. The empire has fallen, but the stones endure. Your troubles will pass, but you will remain stronger for having endured them. As dawn approaches, it's time to leave the wall behind, to return from this journey through history and imagination to the present moment, to your own bed, your own life, your own challenges and joys. But you don't return empty-handed. You carry with you the wall's lessons, its stories, its patient persistence. You carry with you the memory of those millions of workers, their suffering and their strength. You carry with you the image of the wall winding through mountains, meeting the sea, stretching toward infinity. These memories are gifts, treasures that you can return to whenever you need them. When life feels overwhelming, remember the wall's scale. If humans could accomplish that, you can accomplish whatever task lies before you. When suffering seems unbearable, remember those workers. If they could endure, you can endure. When beauty seems absent from the world, remember the moonlight on ancient stones. It's always there, waiting to be noticed. The Great Wall of China is more than a monument. It's a story. And now, it's your story too. You've walked its length in your mind. You've stood in its watchtowers. You've placed your hand where countless others have placed theirs. You're connected now, part of the great chain of human experience that stretches back through time and forward into the future. As you drift towards sleep, let the wall drift with you. Let it be the path between waking and dreaming, between past and present, between struggle and peace, Let its stones become soft as clouds. Let its towers become dreams. Let its length become the bridge you cross into rest. The workers who built the wall are sleeping too, their rest far longer than yours will be. But in your dreams, perhaps you'll meet them. Perhaps you'll thank them for their sacrifice. Perhaps you'll tell them that their work was not in vain, that it means something still, that it will mean something for centuries to come. And perhaps, in the language of dreams that transcends all spoken words, they'll thank you too for remembering, for caring, for walking their wall in your imagination, for keeping their story alive. The story of the Great Wall is not finished, because stories like this are never truly finished. Tomorrow, more visitors will climb its steps. Next year, more restoration work will be done. In decades to come, historians will uncover new facts. Archaeologists will discover lost sections. Artists will create new interpretations. The wall continues to grow, not in length, but in meaning. Each person who encounters it adds another layer to its significance. Each generation reimagines it, discovers in it reflections of their own concerns and aspirations. The wall has become a mirror in which humanity sees itself, our capacity for great achievement and terrible cruelty, our persistence and our futility, our ability to create beauty even in the midst of suffering. And tonight, you've become part of that ongoing story. Your imagination has walked the wall. Your empathy has connected with those long-dead builders. Your wonder has added to the accumulated wonder of millions who have stood where you stood in your mind's eye. Sleep now, gentle traveler. Rest now, patient soul. The wall stands watch, as it has for 2,000 years, as it will for years to come. It guards not against invaders, but against forgetting, not against enemies, but against meaninglessness. It stands as proof that humans were here, that we tried, that we built something lasting, even though we ourselves are temporary. Let this be your final thought as you sink into sleep. You too are building something. Perhaps not a wall of stone, but a life of meaning. Perhaps not a monument that will last millennia, but moments of kindness that will ripple through time in ways you'll never know. You too are leaving your mark, placing your stones, adding your effort to the great human project of creating meaning in an uncertain world. The Great Wall of China, the longest wall ever built by humans, began with a single stone placed by a single person. Your life, your story, begins the same way, with a single choice, a single action, a single moment when you decide to build rather than destroy, to persist rather than surrender, to hope rather than despair. Sleep well and dream of walls that become bridges, of stones that become stories, of endings that become beginnings. The wall waits, patient and eternal, for all who wish to walk it. And now you have